Hi, I'm Randy Rossilli, sitting in for Coach Carcich here on Coach's Corner at PVTV. And I'm here with Coach Halsworth, head coach for our boys basketball team. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about your experience, and then we'll talk about your season, your expectations, whether you met them or didn't, and what your expectations are coming forward.
Sure.
But before, I like to start all my conversations just finding out a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Prior to your coming here, I understand you taught or you coached at college.
Yeah, I was able, while getting my master's in education administration at St. Peter's, I was able to spend a year there as the graduate assistant basketball coach. And then from there, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to transition over to Bloomfield College, which is a Division II school. I spent 6 years coaching there as the top assistant, and that was, it was really a great experience. From there, I wanted to really get into, teaching high school and spending more time with my family, which high school sports allowed you to do that. So then I spent 3 years as Coach Carcich's assistant here at the JV program.
Well, we'll talk about that later on, most definitely, because I'm sure it's a blessing that he couldn't make today's shoot.
Yes, I bet.
At least for you. Maybe not for the viewer, but for you. Coaching at a college level and going up to a Division II has to be totally different than coming to high school.
Yeah, it's a drastic change. With there where scholarships are involved and high pressure job situations where basketball is really the only thing that those kids do. The student athletes, but it's pretty much a job for them. It's something they've worked their entire lives to do. They've really focused throughout high school in order to be able to play at that college level. And as far as such things as fundamentals and basics and things like that, college kids already have that. So then it's just game planning, technical stuff against teams and scouting reports and things like that. Whereas when you get to high school, you really got to go all the way back to the very beginning, where you got to teach the basics, teach the fundamentals, go over step by step the way things need to work in order to be successful.
Well, also in college, were you involved in the recruitment?
Yes, that was the biggest time-consuming thing that we did. Traveling nightly all over the tri-state area, and sometimes out to the Midwest or down south to get the top student athlete that we could possibly get at the collegiate level.
Were you coaching full-time, or were you also teaching at the same time?
I was also teaching at the same time at an alternative high school not too far away from here.
Okay. So now you went from, you were out almost hand-picking your students, your players, to now you come to a public school, not a private school, where you get who moved into town.
Exactly.
So how was that from a culture shock for you, hand-picking elite athletes to, hey, here's who lives in the neighborhood. Let's see what we can make out of this.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest difficult transition that I had to make. You're not going out there recruiting. And it's funny how you mentioned a public school as opposed to a private school, but as far as there is no recruiting aspect here at public school.
Right.
You do the best job you can trying to get involved with the 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, 7th, 8th graders in the three towns that come here. And you really just kind of foster the love of the game of basketball at that level as best you can to hopefully by the time they get here, they are already past the basics and fundamentals and ready to get into, hopefully elite high school basketball.
Were you a player yourself growing up?
Yes, I was. I played at Pagoda High School where I went. I was fortunate enough to receive a full athletic scholarship to play Division II basketball at St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire, and had a very good career up there, which led me right into coaching.
So it's still part of your life and your family's life, and
yeah, I don't know if I can remember the last time that people go on winter break, take vacations and things like that, and it's just I can't remember if I've ever had a winter break or anything like that. It's most of the time just spent in the gymnasium.
Now you've spent the life very passionate about basketball, and now you have students who today's athlete I think is much different than when we were coming up and we were playing, where they have so many other things that are pulling them away. Clubs, activities, other sports, things, academics that they're worrying about, going to college, and you have to get a 1,500 on the SATs, right. So they're taking these SAT courses. Are you finding that it's difficult to foster that type of passion in today's athlete?
I don't know if it's the passion, because if you're a passionate kid about anything, you're going to be passionate about it. It's really just the general basics of the game. Like, you drive around towns, no matter where it is, and you really don't see kids at the park anymore.
True.
Kids are more inclined to play video games or be at home on technology and things like that, which is great. But, I just find it crazy that you could drive around on a nice spring or summer day and there's not a single kid, at the park working on his game or even playing pickup. So that's, I think, the biggest thing.
And it's difficult to get people passionate about things, because usually they get passionate when they have a natural affinity for it.
Right.
And a sport like basketball, it's a skill sport. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to walk and run and dribble and look and pass all at the same time. A lot of things going on. That's very difficult. Do you find that working with freshmen, or you said working with the third, fourth, fifth graders, is helping your program at the high school to build that comfort?
It's kind of twofold, because in order to run a successful basketball program, something we try to do, from November to March during the season, everything's focused on the team. What can you do to help the team? What can this situation do to benefit the team situation? But once the season ends, it's really kind of up to the individual. We offer summer opportunities and summer leagues and fall leagues, and we run 2 weeks of camp for the little kids here, and we encourage kids who aren't playing spring sports to get right into playing summer AAU basketball.
Right.
But from March to November, that's the individual's time to work on their game. Right. And if you don't have the passion for that, or the desire or the drive, you're only going to improve so much. And that's where the public school thing comes into play, where I strongly encourage my players to play more than one sport, because I believe playing more than one sport brings a great deal of competitiveness. You learn different things from different coaches. But if you're not out there bettering your craft consistently, I just don't see how you can improve and then reach expectations that I set forth for the basketball program.
I think also playing multiple sports gives you different dexterities as well.
Absolutely.
Because if all you're really doing is dribbling and running and shooting,
right,
and jumping, well, there's the lateral movement of baseball, right, or running track, or gives you different connective tissue use that you wouldn't normally get just from playing your sport.
But I even think bigger than that is the competitiveness. Learning how to compete, learning how to win in different ways.
Sure.
And I think far beyond skill sets and, as you said, different techniques or philosophies. Just being a constant competitor and having that will to win, that desire to win, is probably the most important thing you get from playing multiple sports.
Now, what do you teach here at Passaic Valley?
Social studies.
So you teach social studies. You get just about every student eventually comes through the social studies program.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
From world history as a freshman all the way up to the criminal justice.
So you find yourself recruiting in class. Hey, you playing basketball this year? You gonna try out for the team?
Like I said, in a public school, you kind of got to do whatever you can to try to get kids out there. Playing basketball is not easy. Right. I mean, it requires a lot of discipline, a lot of accountability, which I think that's my biggest thing is I hold my players accountable, and it's not for everybody.
Right.
But being a coach in a public school, you're gonna have years you're gonna be good, you're gonna have years you're not so good, but it's the relationships you build with your players and your teammates. That's really the most important thing that comes out of this.
Okay, it's a culture.
Yeah.
It's not, you hope it's a culture of winning, but I think Coach Parlavecchio was on the show a couple of shows ago, and he talked about the culture of integrity and how you build a culture of accountability, as you said, as a man. You're playing basketball, boys basketball, as a man. Let's talk about, you started here as an assistant. And now you're the head coach, and you're the head coach replacing the athletic director.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's, first of all, very thankful for the opportunity. I've known Coach Karsic for a very long time. So I've known him since I was a real little kid, growing up watching him, coach and play softball with my father. So I've known him for a very long time. And
You just aged him? You just said how old he was? Or?
no, he's not that old. He's not that old yet, but he's getting there.
Sorry about
that.
that.
But he's been extremely helpful. Definitely somebody I could talk to. He was in the situation. We were in it together. And, he has a great understanding of, what it means to be a successful coach. And I think that's a huge key in, his ultimate success as an athletic director.
Yeah, he knows the mercurial nature of working in a public school
Absolutely.
Environment. And I think that you're doing the right thing by trying to connect with the younger. I know I grew up in East Hanover, and their wrestling program did that. The wrestling program was good for many, many years because the high school coaches were down there, with the in the Pee Wee, the mini Hornets.
I mean, you got to give Coach Benvenuti credit with the wrestling program. He's got his junior Hornet wrestling program.
Right.
That runs right out of here, and it's a factory of good wrestlers, and
it forces the kids to want to come here.
Yeah, I mean, what he's able to accomplish here, getting kids wanting to be Hornets, seeing their older brothers or older cousins come here and be successful.
Right.
He's absolutely on the perfect track.
It's a great model. So this was your second year as the head coach. The head coach. Talk to me about your expectations coming into the season.
We lost basically 4 or 5 starters last year. Our kid was first team all county. We returned 2 seniors this year who would have played significant minutes last year, but both coming off season-ending injuries. Quinn Daniel tore his ACL last year, and Dylan Maroney had a fractured ankle, which required surgery. So both of those kids who were going to be significant players last year, you really missed out on a lot. So bringing those 2 back, besides that, not returning really any significant varsity production. We were hoping to get anywhere between 5 and 10 wins this year, just of how good the rest of the conference and county is.
Right.
And, we're right at that mark right now that we're, trying to finish the year strong and win out the next couple of games.
So you're a young team. So you're hopeful that over the next couple of years, as they get their reps, you're able to be more competitive.
Yeah, we have some young kids in the program who we think have extremely bright futures. Okay. Sophomore Brandon Timothy, freshman Elliot Whitney, a couple juniors who have really stepped in from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. We think that with a great offseason, and that's something we really stress, with a great individual offseason in development, we should be able to compete next year for the top of the league.
That's great. You know what? Why don't we take a look at the a package? One of our guys put together a package from a live basketball game that we taped on PVTV. Take a look.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Sis got blah boy. Sis got blah boy. Ooh. Sis got blah boy. Sis got blah boy. Ooh. Yeah. 901 Shelby Drive. Look alive. Look alive. Came up on this side. Now they on the other side. Oh well. Them dog. We gon' see how hard they ride. I get racks to go outside and I split it with.
And we're back. That was pretty cool. Well, we were able to do that with both the girls and the boys, where we taped it live and we broadcast it live over the internet throughout the world. Next year, every game is going to be broadcast that way.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And that's going to be great. And what's going to be great for you is sometimes you don't get to see the freshmen. And you're going to have an opportunity to scout your own players, to see your own minor league system, how that's coming up. So that's something great that Passaic Valley is going to be doing next year for a lot of our sports, taping all of our games for the coaches to have for their own scouting. Before we close, talk to me about the off season. What kind of expectations do you have for your students? Season's going to end in a couple of weeks now, and if they don't play a spring sport, what are your hopes?
Coming through a year like we had, with a down record, we kind of hope it motivates the kids. There's a lot of good teams in this league with a lot of good players returning next year, and now that the younger kids have actually, gotten their feet wet a little bit, have that varsity experience, I think they're going to finally understand what it takes, or the work ethic that you need in order to, make that jump to just being, mediocrity or a mediocre team in the league to being one of those elite level teams in Passaic County.
Yeah, they know what those big bangers under the boards feel like.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, it's
playing
different.
against varsity guys.
We have a couple kids who, a year or two ago were playing, 7th and 8th grade basketball
Right.
against, their friends in town that they're not going to school with. So
Right.
it's a huge change. It's a big adjustment, a big jump. But, experience is the best teacher.
You're the best. Your best player. Every team has a best player. Every community has a best player.
Right.
So until they really feel that they're not playing against their neighborhood players, they really don't know what that higher level of competition is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Open gyms. You guys.
We're not really allowed to do
shoot
anything
around and stuff like that?
Not really allowed to do anything until after spring sports are over. But as soon as the spring sports end, we'll start our summer practices, our summer league, which we have at Bloomfield College every year with some very, very good competition against some very good schools. So we're really looking forward to getting after it.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This is Randy Rossilli. I'm in for Coach Karsich. Hopefully next time, Coach Karsich will be back. Thank you for watching Coach's Corner on mypbtv.com.